They say growing old comes with wisdom. What they don't tell you is how invisible you slowly become, to your own children even. I'm 66 years old, a mother of 3 grown daughters, grandmother to 7, a widow for 9 years now. And somewhere along the line, I went from being the center of the family to the help. Last weekend, my daughter Sandra invited everyone over for a family lunch at her house. I was asked, no, expected to cook. I didn't mind, at least not at first. Cooking has always been my love language. I was up before 6 a.m. that Saturday, prepping for 14 people. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, baked salmon, sautéed green beans, a Mediterranean couscous salad, and 2 desserts, lemon bars and my signature trifle. Everything from scratch. By 11 a.m., I was at Sandra's house, still apron-clad, loading her oven and directing traffic in her kitchen while she entertained guests. Her friends were there, too, not just family, old coworkers, a neighbor couple, even her husband's aunt from Melbourne who didn't know my name but kept calling me the help. I brushed it off. I always do. The dining table was beautiful. Sandra had done a great job setting it. Candles, printed place cards, folded napkins, but there was no place card for me. I figured it was a mistake. So when everyone began settling in, I stood off to the side, wiping my hands, waiting for Sandra to call me over. She didn't. Instead, she glanced at me and said in front of everyone, "Mom, can you serve the salad, please? And oh, you can eat later. There's a plate in the kitchen for you." No one flinched, not even my other daughters. I stood there for a moment, frozen. All those hours, all that effort, and now I was just the help. I smiled, politely, nodded, went into the kitchen and quietly made myself a small plate of food, which I ate alone on a stool by the pantry while laughter echoed from the dining room. But here's the thing about mothers like me. We carry everything, but we never forget. So while I sat there, chewing through the bitter taste in my mouth, a thought sparked quietly in my mind. They think I'm invisible. Let's see how they like it when I stop being useful. Or better yet, when I serve them something they didn't expect. And what I did the next day, it shut them all up. I barely slept that night. You'd think I'd be used to it by now. Being sidelined, dismissed. I've spent years watching my daughters grow into their own lives, their own homes, their own opinions. That's what we raise them for, right? But there's a difference between growing up and growing over someone. And that lunch? That was the moment I realized they'd stopped seeing me as anything but an unpaid service. They used to say, "Mom, nobody cooks like you." Now it's just, "Mom, can you cook?" Like I'm a machine, not a mother, not a person with feelings. I went home Saturday night with my trifle dish still in hand, untouched, by the way. They were too full, apparently. I left it on my kitchen counter and stared at it for a long time. I nearly cried, but then I didn't, because by morning I had a plan. Sunday afternoon, they were all coming again, this time to my house for Sunday leftovers. Sandra had suggested it casually. "Bring what's left, Mum. We'll come over and you don't have to cook." How considerate. But cook I did. I woke up early again, and this time I cooked a different kind of meal. Not poison, no. I'm not that kind of dramatic. But symbolic? Oh, yes. I made every one of their favorite dishes, visually identical down to the garnishes, but I altered each one. The trifle had salt instead of sugar. The mashed potatoes were bland, unsalted, cold. The roast chicken, I boiled it to rubber. The couscous was raw, the salmon dry and overcooked. Every single thing looked good, smelled good, but tasted like disappointment. They arrived around 1 p.m. Same chatter, same greetings, same automatic behavior. "Where's the food, Mum?" No one asked how I was. Not one of them. I laid out the spread. They filled their plates. The first bites? Hilarious. One by one, they made the same face, confused, then disgusted. Sandra gagged on the trifle. Chloe poked her salmon like it had offended her. My son-in-law whispered something about, "Has Mum lost her touch?" I just sipped my tea and watched. Sandra finally said, "Mum, what happened to the food?" I looked up and said calmly, "Oh, I must have forgotten how to cook. You know, old age and all. Or maybe I was too tired from being your unpaid caterer yesterday." The silence was deafening. "I thought I'd serve you what you gave me, pretty on the outside, empty on the inside." They all just stared. No one said a word, not even Sandra. And then I stood up and said the words that had been sitting in my heart for far too long. "I'm not your maid. I'm your mother. And if you can't treat me with basic decency, then maybe you should start hiring help, because I quit." Then I walked to my room and closed the door. But that was only the beginning. You'd think after a moment like that, someone would knock on your door, that maybe one of them, just one, would check on the woman who had cooked for them her whole life, raise them with both hands tied behind her back, wipe their tears, their noses, and their backsides too. But no, not a single knock. Just the sound of cutlery being put down awkwardly, chairs being pushed back, shoes on my carpet, and the front door closing behind them, one by one, like I was nothing more than a disappointing meal to be left behind. I stayed in my room that whole evening, ate a slice of toast, and watched the sunset. Funny how peaceful the world is when you stop trying to please people who never say thank you. The next day, Monday morning, I didn't open my phone. I didn't return Sandra's messages or Chloe's half-hearted voicemail. "Mom, we didn't mean to upset you. It was just, a misunderstanding." But that wasn't the part that got to me. No, what truly dug into my chest was the message my grandson Aaron had left me Sunday night. "Grandma, did we make you feel like a servant?" That boy is barely 15, yet he saw it, understood it. The rest of them, grown women with husbands and careers and yoga classes, and none of them had the nerve to admit what they'd done. So I made a decision. Tuesday morning, I drove into town, walked into a solicitor's office I had used once years ago after my husband died. His name was Mr. Conway. Still had the same office, though his hair had gotten thinner and mine had gone white. I asked him to draft a new will. "Everything," I said, "goes to the one person who asked me how I felt." He blinked. "Your grandson?" "Yes, Aaron." I'd already set aside money for my funeral and expenses, and I told Mr. Conway that all the rest, what little savings I had, the house, my car, was to go to Aaron. On one condition, that he finish school, that he go to university, that he take care of himself like I'd have taken care of him. As for the girls, I left a letter each. No money, just words. By Thursday, the letters had been delivered. Sandra was the first to call. "Mum? Mum, are you serious?" I was calm. "Yes, Sandra, you may not like it, but I've made peace with it." "You're punishing us for one day?" "One day," I said softly, that told me everything I needed to know. And then I hung up, because I wasn't doing this out of spite. I was doing it out of clarity. But what happened Friday, that was something I never expected, and it changed everything again. By Friday morning, my phone had turned into a battlefield. Missed calls, voicemails, messages from Chloe, Sandra, even Chloe's husband, Mark, the one who always called me Ma with a cheeky smile and never lifted a finger to help clear a plate. I ignored them all. Not because I was being cruel, But because I was done handing out warmth to people who stood in the sunshine of my kindness and still asked why I wasn't shining brighter, that afternoon I heard a knock at my door. I knew it wasn't Aaron. He always texted first. And besides, school wasn't out yet. It was Sandra, standing there red-eyed, mascara trailing, hair undone like she'd been in a rush. "Mum," she said, voice cracking, "can I come in?" I moved aside. Not because I wanted to, but because I still believed in civility, even if it had been denied to me. She sat at the dining table, the same table I'd once made room for her to do her homework on, while I made dinner after a full shift at the bakery. "I read your letter," she whispered. I nodded. "And Chloe? She's been crying all morning. She says you're trying to replace us with Aaron." I finally looked her in the eye. "I'm not replacing anyone. You made yourselves absent. Aaron just saw me." She started to say something else, but I stopped her. "I'm not angry, Sandra. Not anymore. I was. But now I'm just awake. I've been serving love on platters so long that I didn't even notice when the table turned, and when I sat down to eat, finally it was empty." That hit her. She reached for my hand, but I gently pulled it back. Then I stood, walked to the kitchen, and opened the oven. Because I'd been cooking. Yes, I had. Just not for them. I pulled out a tray of something golden and rich, seasoned with years of trial, error, and love, my famous lamb roast. But this time, it wasn't for the whole family. It was just for Aaron. He was coming after school. He'd earned the seat. Sandra looked confused. "I thought you weren't cooking anymore?" I smiled, not unkindly. "Oh, I still cook, but only for people who feed my soul in return." She stood there, stunned. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. "I'm sorry, Mum." "I know, but now you'll have to show me. Words won't fill a plate." That night, Aaron came over. He smelled the roast the second he walked in and beamed. "You cooked again." I handed him a plate and sat with him as he ate. Just the two of us. He didn't ask me to get up, didn't talk over me, didn't treat me like I was furniture. He passed the gravy and asked how my back was doing. And that was the moment I knew. I hadn't lost my family. I was just finally seeing it for what it was, and what it could still be if they were willing to grow, not just expect. It was a Sunday again. A week after the dinner that opened my eyes and, truth be told, closed a few doors too. But something unexpected happened. Chloe showed up. Not alone. She brought Lily, her daughter, my granddaughter, the one who always hugged my waist so tight like she never wanted to let go. And yet, over time, I'd barely seen her because her mother kept her at arm's length from me. "Hi, Mum," Chloe said, standing on my porch. No makeup, no sunglasses, no smug smile, just her, the girl I remembered raising, the one who used to cry into my lap when her favorite teacher left school. She didn't ask to come in. She waited. I opened the door and let them in. I wasn't ready to forget everything, but I was willing to listen. We sat in the living room. Lily drew on my old notepad. Chloe sat across from me, fidgeting with the sleeve of her cardigan. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything. I was stressed, trying to juggle everything. I took it out on you. I forgot you were more than just Mum. You're a person, a woman, one who gave up a lot so we could have something." I didn't interrupt. She took a breath and added, "The family felt empty this week, like the food had no flavor. Not just because you weren't there, but because we finally saw what we'd become. You didn't change. We just stopped seeing you." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but I didn't move to wipe them. That was hers to feel. Then she did something unexpected. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her purse and placed it on the table. It was titled Mom's Sunday Rotation. She had created a calendar. Each family member, Chloe, Sandra, their spouses, even Lily and Aaron, had been assigned a Sunday. Their job? To cook for me, to invite me, to clean up afterward. No exceptions. "Mum," she said quietly, "you always fed us. Now it's time we feed you, starting next Sunday. And if you don't show up, we'll just keep sending food until you do." I stared at the list. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the past, but it was real. Then Lily climbed onto my lap and whispered, "Grandma, I want to learn how to make your lamb roast." That broke me. Right there, in the soft glow of the afternoon, with my granddaughter curled against me and my daughter watching with hopeful eyes, I let it all out. Not the pain. I'd already felt that. This was the release, the letting go. I took their calendar. I said yes. And when I showed up the next Sunday at Chloe's, the table was set. There was no "you eat later, Mum."